let's get started. Thank you all for joining this session about GSMA Services. Let's go to the next slide. My name is Adrian Dodds. I head up the GSMA Services team and run the managed services at the GSMA on a day-to-day basis. I've got a great team of people who do this at the GSMA, and some of them will be speaking to you in a moment. So let's go to the agenda and tell you what we've got. Quite a busy program, but very, very interesting, I think you'll find. We're going to update you on our work on blockchain and how to manifest roaming services through blockchain technology, first with Shamit. Following that, we're going to talk about a new service which we've recently introduced to help you manage fraud. That's the Fraud Intelligence Service with Sam Kite. Then we're going to update you on eSIM services, particularly the eSIM Discovery service, which we launched last year with Chris and Fabiola. Then we're going to update you on some enhancements that we've done recently to the GSMA device map service with Tyler. And Tyler's also going to talk to us about the network settings exchange latest and a very interesting area involving VoLTE testing, which is going to help with interoperability. So that's what we've got planned. We're going to move through those fairly promptly and leave questions for the end. So as you're receiving the information, questions occur to you, please put them in the chat, and we may try and write the answers as we're going through, but we'll leave 10 or 15 minutes at the end to discuss those answers live. So please use the chat to put your questions in. Anyway, yeah, we're really busy and active on GSMA Services at the moment. In the recent board review of GSMA's mandate, they've kind of added a third pillar to the GSMA activities, which is called Services and Solutions. And the board has actually asked us to do more and accelerate in this area of offering services. So we have several groups. There's an eSIM service group now, which deals with identities and security and how to activate eSIMs. We're into the fraud and security space by looking after device crime, reducing that, and also helping you with fraud traffic prevention. We're into networking and interconnect with routing applications, domain name services, and interoperability tools. We're into device information with the TAC allocations and our database of device information. And then coming soon, if we go to the next slide, we're going to create a blockchain business network with different applications, roaming being the first one. And we're also going to get into further services relating to, conformance and certification to help with interoperability in the ecosystem. So GSMA services are really becoming a bigger and bigger thing. They're popular. Boards asked us to accelerate. Many of you use them already, and we're delighted to be able to present them to you from time to time at WOS and other events. When you want to know more, please go to gsma.com/services, where you will see each of these specified in more detail. And if you'd like to have a one-to-one conversation with an expert, after this event, there are plenty of little contact forms within the website that you can fill in, and we will arrange to have a one-to-one discussion with you. So really do invite you to seek these services out and find out more, because they're very helpful. And they tend to have a theme, which is that where there's an industry problem, which is solved by exchange of information or a somewhat collaborative response, GSMA is in a very good position to create that overarching database or collaborative framework to help with that industry problem. Okay, so I think I'll stop with the introduction there, and we'll go into the first presentation from Shamit. And please do put your questions into the chat as we go through. So thank you, and over to you, Shamit.
Thank you very much, Adrian. I hope you can all hear me fine.
Yep.
Okay, brilliant. So I think I have been quite a regular at WAS meetings, so a lot of you would know me as the director for the IDS working group and also the internet group. I also chair the blockchain for wholesale roaming activities, which is an industry-wide initiative for identifying opportunities with blockchain and roaming. Next slide, please. So as Adrian said, we are looking to launch a blockchain network for the mobile operators, and the network is going to have various different use cases mounted on it. And we are beginning with the roaming and wholesale roaming settlement, to be very specific. Now, a lot of you would know about the current process, which revolves around the tap exchange process. And we all have at length discussed various inherent issues with the current process with regards to the rigid structure of exchange, the fact that you need on-top tap process in order to conduct all your discounting settlement, the cumbersome nature of the current settlement process, wherein you need to engage in a particular activity on a day-to-day basis. And besides that, some of the issues around disputes, coming up with a single source of truth, and also, trying to engage with all the latest and the future technologies which are, knocking on our doorsteps, and trying to manage that with TAP. Next slide, please. Now, we have acknowledged that, and 5-6 years ago, we began with a new process definition, which is called as the billing and charging evolution process, wherein we have been successful in resolving a lot of the issues. The fact that we would kind of have a single process wherein you don't need another top-off process in the future. The fact that the simplification has worked in terms of not needing a rigid exchange mechanism, and you having the ability to choose when to send a file and to whom to send a file in a given period. So you have a lot of that flexibility now. And I believe that BCE resolves a lot of the issues. However, it does not resolve all the issues. Next slide, please. We believe that a lot of the issues which we see in the current process, or even with the BCE process, would be around the underlying technology which we use. And this is where blockchain comes into picture. Now, the technology which we have been using for running our TAP processes, and predominantly which is being proposed for using for BCE process, is the technology of the 80s, wherein you have a SFTP process, wherein there's a lot of back and forth. There's a man in the middle who basically helps you enable trust. And in the blockchain world, although you would have a need for a particular vendor if you choose to utilize a vendor for a service, or you could do it in-house as well. But essentially what happens is that you don't need a trust intermediary. The current vendors kind of evolve into providing you the blockchain services, and that in turn helps you mitigate a lot of the issues we have with the current underlying technology. And, a lot of the overheads which we have in the current technology kind of get mitigated as well by use of smart contracts, by use of some transparent mechanisms which are inherent to blockchain technology, and by use of things like the trust mechanisms which are placed in through the blockchain system. Next slide, please. Can you just click again so we have the entire, just go all the way. Thank you. Okay, so what are we trying to do? So GSMA, as I said, is already running a blockchain for wholesale roaming initiative, wherein we are trying to both test out the technology, and the initial results have been quite promising. There have been lots of POCs which have been conducted, and they have been quite successful as well. And that facilitation of standardization will continue. What GSMA would do is build a network backbone, wherein I mean that all the network governance related discussions will take place. There would be some parts of the code which would be available for everyone to use and build upon and learn from. And at the same time, we would build a blockchain network wherein we would help the mobile operators get onto the network and mount their own services on top of the network. Now, this is where we provide the blockchain network services, wherein in an operational network, we would work with the mobile operators to administer the network, and also we would help them manage participation over the network. Next slide, please. We are partnering with Mobilium, who would be our technical partner for this service, and we believe that in totality, that would bring about a lot of our unique skill sets together, and the know-how in the industry with our standardization ability, and also the inherent knowledge within the GSMA, plus the expertise from Mobilium in terms of their current work, which they've done both in blockchain and also the support they provide to various industry stakeholders in wholesale roaming, brings in a very interesting value proposition. Next slide, please. So a quick rundown through some of our services. As I said, the first service, which I already described, was the blockchain network service, wherein you could tap into the network and utilize it for any blockchain-based service. We have 4 key services, which are something which you can choose to take from GSMA, or you could utilize another vendor or do it in-house. But essentially, the first service is to manage your node infrastructure, wherein we manage the node. You can just give it away to GSMA for help. The second service is all the settlement applications, be it TAB, BCE, or the discounting settlement process. We can manage that for you. The fourth application here is the online roaming agreement platform, wherein we help you negotiate roaming agreements, a bit like what you do in WAS. And finally, we also have a legacy converter, which is a service wherein you might not need to manage 2 different processes. We'll give you a service wherein one service will manage all the legacy and the future services. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's mainly what I had to cover in terms of the blockchain for roaming solution. If there's anything you would like to know further, of course, I'll wait for the Q&A, or you could contact me for that. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Shamit. Okay, so please put any questions in the chat, and we'll come to those at the end. And if we can't get to all the questions, we will actually write them down, all of the answers, and circulate to all of you. So don't be shy. And next we will move to Sam, from the Fraud Intelligence Service. Thank you, Sam.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Samantha Kite. I'm the Security Operations Director at GSMA and also the Product Manager for the Fraud Intelligence Service. I'm going to give you a live demo today, but we'll go through a couple of slides to let you know a bit more about it. We've actually developed the Fraud Intelligence Service with RoamSys Next. We've extended our partnership with them as they've run RayX for us over the last 10 years. They've got really in-depth knowledge of mobile roaming and software development, and so they're our first choice in order to develop this product. The Fraud Intelligence Service is a way to reduce your roaming and interconnect fraud, and to be able to do some quick analysis and prevention. It's an intelligence platform that is global, curated, and available in real time. Originally, when we started developing this, it was around the high risk number ranges. We wanted to take them from our usual Excel spreadsheet and take them on into a platform that was web-based, something that's easy to use for all our members. So what we've done is extended that further to develop the Fraud Intelligence Service so that you can investigate your roaming partner and mobile data as well in order to build that intelligence further. Next slide, I think, is the demo, and I will share my screen. Yeah.
We'll just give Sam a moment to log in.
This is the login page.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the high risk numbers. So this is the new home for all of our high risk numbers. You can submit data at any time that suits you. As you can see, we've got a list of, actually the list here is over 30,000 numbers that we're starting off with. So it's quite comprehensive. We've got, if we have a look at, where should I start? Let's add some numbers. So if you're wanting to add numbers, it's much easier than it was before. You can, oh, it's catching there. You can add as many numbers as you like here. Add a fraud label as well. Add the status, comment, save that, and it's automatically updated. You can also add in bulk. So you can download the template from the top right hand CSV Excel, put your numbers in there. It does data cleansing for you. So in the past, we've had issues with prefixes and things like that. It'll automatically do that for you. So you can just put everything, all your numbers straight into the Excel and upload it. And if you would like us to do the data cleansing for you, you just, click over here. And then also there's admin options, which you can add sightings and TADIC codes and that as well. So if I go back to the high risk numbers, so as mentioned, when you first log in, you'll have 30,000 numbers. So this red badge up here will be your notifications and show you 30,000 on there. You can mark them all as red or unread. Now, if you're wanting to go in and see more detail about a number, let me just look into this one. You've got the little eye here is your details page. You can edit and report issue, and I'll explain those in a bit more in a second. So once you're in your details page, you've got details about the number. You can add a citing if you've seen this number used in fraudulent activity. There's checks. So check here that it's not used in an IR21 range. You can set your own priority ranges if there's a specific number that you want an update on or you've been following. There's information here about the affected countries, the source country, and then you can also add your own labels and comments, both private or global. With the labels as well, if there's specific frameworks that you can use, you can map it to those, and I'll show you in a little bit how to do that as well. So if I go back to the home page for the high risk numbers, if we click here, so edit is just to be able to edit that details page straight away. You can also report a number here. So if you see a number that really shouldn't be on this list and needs to be excluded, or the information's out of date, we've got a really easy system now for you to be able to report that. And then too, if you want to connect this to your fraud management system or anything like that, you can export the data, CSV or Excel. There is an option for API. And I think that's that page covered. So we've also got ranges. So we've not just covered the numbers, we've got details on the ranges, the quantity of numbers reported within each of these ranges. Again, fraud labels, the sightings, and all that sort of thing, and the last sighting. The next three tabs we're going to look at, I probably don't have enough time in detail to go through each of them, but they're related to your IR21 data. If I click on the mobile number ranges, so this tab is quite good. So when you see suspicious traffic from a particular number and it's detected, the source operator and the history of that number can easily be looked up here. It's also got an issues column, which displays any data conflicts with high risk number matches. So for example, this one says the country code is not as expected and the high risk number is not a match. And then there's also fraud labels which correlate with the high risk numbers. So again, if I click on the details page here, Here is where all your checks are. You've got your contact details, the range, the start, stop, connections, the network information, and again, any labels or comments that you would like to add. The MNC and MCC tab, here you can check your IMSI codes, MGT ranges, EPC realms, APNs across all IR21 subsections, and operator IP ranges. It's enriched with geolocation ASN data from IP Data Co. And then we've got your notifications. I mean, again, if you want more information, our team, I'm sure, will be able to spend a lot more time with you to go through that. Our help desk in our administrations is actually quite interesting. So you can, again, here set your priority range. You can set for duplicate checks. There we are. You can here put a list of numbers if you don't want them to be reported as high risk numbers or that they need to be excluded. This is the section where I was saying if you've got a particular framework you're using, I don't know whether it's MITRE or there's a particular fraud framework, if you're following the GSMA fraud manual, you can add all the labels in here, set report distribution, there's sharing groups that have been defined by Roam Sys Next. So a lot of different options. So as mentioned, there is also an API which is available for those of you who want to use that. I might go back to the slides if I can. No, I'm running out of time here, but this service does have two components. We have a free high risk number service only, which the full service actually covers all the data analysis that I've shown you and that you've seen. It also has external data sources which we use to enrich the IR21 data in there, as well as just being able to customize it a lot more. And the API is included in there. So my one request would be that I'm going to shortly put in the link to the free service so that you can all access the high risk numbers. We'd love as many operator members to join that as possible. I think I'll hand back over to you now, Adrian.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sam. Looks very, very powerful. And again, all you need to do is click on this link or find the link on gsmaservices.com to apply for your free credentials and use the service. So we thoroughly encourage you to do that. Great. So let's move into the eSIM area, and we've got Chris and then Fabiola from one of our partners to speak to you about that. Thank you, Chris.
So I'm Chris. I look after the eSIM discovery service, and today Fabiola is going to talk about it. Next slide, please. So GSMA has been running the pilot for eSIM discovery since 2017, and we have last year moved the service into commercial offering. So we are in a full commercial, ready to go production platform that everyone can enjoy by signing up. We work with two major players in the market, G&D and Thales, to provide the service to many operators. As you can see, a couple of logos here. Of course, they're not the only ones. And we are talking to additional operators as well to onboard the service. And we recognize the very much support from the OEMs that they have been deploying devices that in the market that utilize eSIM discovery, and it provides them to enhance the customer experience. Next slide, please. So eSIM discovery, what is it really? It provides a central repository for operators to work with provision of the subscription profile to the user device. So when operators want to provision a profile to a new eSIM device that a consumer just bought or they got it from open market, they can simply advertise the availability of the profile to the GSMA eSIM discovery. This is done by the EID, the 32-digit number, which is on every single eSIM capable device. And when the device got switched on or the menu got triggered, the device contact the GSMA eSIM discovery and see if there's anything for the consumer device to do. If there's anything, then the device directly contact the operator backend system on the eSIM infrastructure to get the profile provisioned. Next slide, please. So eSIM discovery is just one of the few eSIM service that we enhance or we deploy to the market. Some other service includes EUICC identity scheme, which assigns the first 5 digits of the EID so that we have a central allocation to the industry. And then we also work with 1 certification body and 4 licensed labs to do EUICC security assurance, which ensure the EUICC is actually secure and it is for operator to rely upon on their security and the protection on the subscription information. So I think it's time for me to pass to Fabiola to share more about the actual user experience. Fabiola?
Yes, thank you, Chris. And well, as Chris mentioned, I'm part of Talent, so I'm in charge of eSIM Discovery and eSIM Solutions product marketing. And now in the next slides, I'm going to talk to you about the benefits of the eSIM Discovery service. But before jumping into that, I want to show you this slide because as you see, eSIM, it's not a story only of smartwatches, okay, which were the first consumer devices with an eSIM inside, but it's a story that of any type of device in consumer. So today, in the slide, we show part of the devices that you can find in the market that are equipped today with an eSIM. As you can see, we have laptops, tablets, but also smartphones. Okay, smartphones are the devices that are now driving the eSIM in the consumer market. And notice that the top 3 device makers, Apple, Samsung, and Huawei, have already launched smartphones with eSIM. But also Google, who has their Pixel models 2, 3, and 4 with eSIM, and Motorola Razr. Okay, so the Motorola Razr was the first smartphone that came with an eSIM only, meaning that it didn't have a slot to insert a traditional SIM card. And also worth noticing, OEMs like Microsoft launching their Surface tablets also with eSIM. So this shows that eSIM, it's a reality. We see it out there deployed commercially in the market, and that we will in the future continue seeing new types of devices and new devices of different brands also being launched with eSIM. So in the next slide, we talk about one of the first benefits of the Discovery service, and the fact that it's universal and standardized. It's very important because it means that for our customers, which are operators, but also device makers, they will benefit from short time to markets and less integration costs. Okay, so having in mind that when an MNO onboards on this service, okay, and and does the modifications on their side to support this service, with this service, they can target whatever device that's launched in the market and which is also enabled with the eSIM Discovery service, okay, without needing to do any modifications or integrations to each device. On the other hand, it's very important as well because the implementation that needs to be done on device side and also on operator side are the same regardless of the type of device. Okay, so if the device is an open market device or if it's a branded device, the implementation is exactly the same. Okay, so this is very important for time to market matters. So in the next slide, I talk about the user experience, and one of the, let's say, of the focus that both operators and device makers had when eSIM Story started a long time ago, is that they wanted to be careful about the user experience and be sure that the experience was smooth enough, okay, and good enough, so that a transition from SIM cards to eSIM was as expected. So in this slide, I show a very high level view of the flow of the end user journey. And the journey starts with the end user going to the MNO shop or going to the website and subscribing to an offer. So immediately after this occurs, the MNO system will book a profile into the SMDP Plus. Okay, so the SMDP Plus is the element that is in charge of downloading subscriptions into the eSIM. Okay, so the SMDP Plus at this time will notify the eSIM discovery service that there is a profile, okay, a subscription awaiting for a specific device. So when the device is powered on, the device automatically and without touch from the end user will pull the eSIM discovery and will ask, is there any profile for me? So the eSIM discovery service will reply to that device by sending the address of the operator where that device needs to look in order to download the subscription. Okay, so at this time, the device will go to the SMDP Plus and request the profile download. Okay, and as that, very simple, the device will be connected. So from the end user perspective, it's very intuitive. They go to the shop as they do today, or they go to the website, and after device power on, or if the device is already powered on and the LPA queries, when the LPA queries the eSIM discovery, the user will see a notification and saying that there is a subscription available and that he needs to accept in order for the subscription to download, and the device will be connected. Okay, so it's very smooth, and in basically one click, the end user is connected. And in the next slide, the third benefit of this service is that it's a great option for IoT devices, okay? Because in case you want to download a subscription using the discovery service, the device doesn't need to have a camera, okay? And it doesn't need to have the ability to download a carrier app, okay? So these two are actually requirements that need to be in the device in order to use other methods that are complementary or alternative to the discovery service. Okay, so it is great because typically the IoT devices are constrained devices that are small and probably don't have an interface, and that very likely don't have a camera. Okay, so this method, it's great for this type of devices. So I go back to you, Chris. Thank you.
Yep. So thanks, Fabiola. So again, as Fabiola says, this is a very intuitive user experience to get the subscription profile down to the device. And saying that one couple of the key points, the GSMA eSIM discovery is fully compliant with the GSMA specification. We have the SGP22 compliance. Of course, we take security seriously, and we follow the GSMA SaaS compliance scheme, which dictates the security around SIM and subscription ecosystem, that we are fully compliant with that. We are currently providing 99.9% availability and a fair bit of transaction per minute, like 12,000 transactions per minute. So we are here, we are ready, and the device is actually here in the market already. So try it and ask your eSIM service provider to see how we can get on board. On back to you, Adrian.
Great, thanks, Chris and Fabiola. And we'll come back with some questions at the end. So I think we're a little shy on questions from the floor. So please, if you do have a question out there, stick it on the chat and we'll ask it. Otherwise, you're going to have to be, using our pre-prepared questions. So please get your questions out there. All right, so now we're going to turn to Tyler. He's got 2 segments, so Tyler, just flow from one to the other, and over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Adrian. So I'm Tyler Smith. I look after product management for a lot of different things that have to do with type allocation codes, or TAC, and the information and device intelligence. So those would include our device database product, device map product, also GSMA Network Settings Exchange. So today I'm going to start with device map and then move into device network settings. So with regards to device map at a high level enables mobile network operators and MVNOs to get the complete picture of devices they see on their networks, and also more information and analytics about how those devices are utilizing your network. So some quick things about getting just kind of the full view of what device map is at a high level is, it is the authoritative source of mobile device information across all landscapes. Device map currently includes more than 150 plus attributes versus the 25 attributes contained as of today in our standard device database offering. So in essence, this device map service is a more rich database service than our standard device database offering, which some of you may be familiar with. Currently, this service is in use with more than 70 organizations across the world, and about 50% of those, give or take a few, are mobile network operators. Another key thing I'd like to point out today is that we're continually investing in this service and in all of our database services, and that we bring more and more unique data attributes year over year. And to touch on a few of the most recent ones and upcoming items, we had IoT endpoints come in 2020 in Q4 of the calendar year, and that enables end users to better understand the utilization or type of end device as it relates to IoT. I'll touch on that more in the next slide. The hardware classification information. This was launched last month and provides end users of the service with basically a quantitative score on the device hardware, so the physical makeup of the device, the components of the device, and based on that, can give you device valuation perspective at a deeper level than just using the make and model name or the release date. You can actually look at it and say, the processor, the chipset that's in this particular device, and things like that can drive that quantitative score. And then the last point on this slide is the upcoming 4G and 5G network band performance information. This is scheduled for release in Q2 of this year. And this is going to be a lot of new data and very, very relevant to the mobile network operators across the world. These new data points will indicate to operators the expected performance of 4 and 5G devices. So for example, 4G band selections or carrier aggregation, or 5G band selections, you will now be able to see for each of the bands supported for each device, the indication of, for example, MIMO layers supported, QAM, relevant uplink and downlink speeds. And what this information will do is it will help enable operators to identify in much greater detail to what level a particular device model is capable of operating, which can result in greater network efficiencies. And also, want to also point out that this particular data point is also going to be included in our device database standard offering, as well, as this is a great and important benefit across the industry. Next slide. So with the rate and growth and diversity of connected devices that continues to evolve, and the challenge for operators is to understand implications for their networks to help ensure that you have optimal end user device performance and experience. In order to do this, operators need deeper insights into the nature and capabilities of the devices that they see on their networks or utilizing their networks. Being able to further understand and identify IoT devices, 4 and 5G network capabilities and attributes, and the proper identification or use cases of, for example, should this device that's only running on 2 or 3G be utilizing as much network capacity as I'm seeing it being utilized. So device map enables network optimization and planning through enhanced data attributes. And I want to cover now how we can address some of these issues, which are around capacity planning, rate plan misuse, and 5G rollout and 2G and 3G sunsetting. So to help alleviate some of these challenges and issues, one of those being network planning and capacity. So capacity needs to be reserved at towers locations for various end customer devices and M2M devices. You must be able to measure device activity levels to determine if that current capacity, if your current capacity reservations are at the right setting or the right or most optimal place. Another challenge, obviously, is the rate plan misuse. So various data rate plans are provided based a lot of times on the end device type and the application of that device. So you need to be able to accurately monitor whether a device is in use and is it aligned to the plan that you assigned to that end device type. And then finally, 5G rollouts and 2G and 3G sunsetting. If it's in order to take on those actions, it's very important to accurately identify the devices, the capabilities on a network, and with limited information around this particular area, it could result in very poor outcomes for your end users. So how does device map help you in these areas? So operators can utilize our service of device map to basically overcome these hurdles, give greater insights, and streamline your efficiencies. I.e., network traffic can be analyzed against precise end device attributes, resulting in more accurate capacity allocation. So you can do that with device map. You have the ability to further analyze your device type traffic, not just general traffic, but by device type, to further identify and address rate plan misuse, and then subsequently action those findings. The service will also help provide a greater understanding to see, okay, what type of devices are currently on my network, and what are their capabilities, from everything from Wi-Fi, WAN, LAN information to also how are they performing on my network and what are they capable of. So if you're able to accurately identify that, say, X number of devices have, and Y of those devices are utilizing a certain percentage of your current network capacity, then perhaps you could use this exercise to help determine, hey, I've only got 10% of 2G and 3G devices running. And with that information, you can create and implement plans to convert those end devices to maybe newer devices more quickly, or help assist in determining investment decisions, i.e., if you can see all the devices on your network and you know that you've got X number of 2G devices and Y number of 4 and 5G devices, it could help you identify the right time to begin rolling out 5G or sunsetting 2G, et cetera. So, lots of information. It's really, a lot of things to cover for device map. There's so many attributes to cover. There's so many benefits to the end users. We'd love to speak to you further about it. A lot of times we see our best results when we have one-to-one discussions with end users, because we can really dig in and address what are the current issues that you face and how we can guide and develop a path for which you can utilize device map quickly to overcome those issues. Okay, so lots of information there. What we'll go to now is I'll switch gears and move into what we call our GSMA Network Settings Exchange service. This was launched in about 18 months ago, the fall of 2019. So basically, at a high level, what GSMA Network Settings Exchange is it's a single secure location that enables MNOs and MVNOs, as well as the device manufacturers, to exchange device network settings in a standardized and consistent format securely. To date, we have over 350 OEMs participating. That represents 95% of the largest device manufacturers in the world. And we push new device network settings from operators across the globe as and when those network settings are provided to us by the mobile network operators. We're seeing mobile network operators send all of their OEMs to their platforms, and there are several use cases that we have in which we've gotten feedback from mobile network operators that, hey, this has been great. We're using this service now, and it's allowed us to, quickly respond to OEMs asking for our device network settings, and we simply tell them, hey, you've got access at a single location. You can use a GSMA Network Settings Exchange. So that's been one of the larger benefits that we've seen. But what we also are not seeing, though, is we need more settings. We need more MNOs participating, as the device manufacturers are really, really wanting this information to ensure that those end device types across all the networks across the world are getting the best experience. That they're able to make a VoLTE call if they're expected to be able to make a VoLTE call, or that their RCS, rich communication services, are working as the end user expects them to work. And in some cases, just ensuring that the device works for simple tasks of sending an SMS. So those are all things that are important. And I'll circle back to GSMA network settings and talk about some of the key benefits in more detail. But first, what I'd like to introduce is to complement GSMA network settings. We're looking at we're going to be launching what we call GSMA VoLTE or VoLTE interoperability scheme. And it's going to be a testing and certification program. So basically what we've done through our network or our NG working groups, it's been carried out through that. It's resulted as work based in those working groups. And this service will enable the testing of devices and networks, as well as device to network and network to network testing for both roaming and non-roaming scenarios. And the tests that will be conducted, we've defined a set of 6 service-related device profiles, which will cover voice, SMS, and emergency calls via the IMS settings. So the focus on this particular service and testing schema will be around the IMS settings and roaming, and also networks will be able to be tested according to their IMS settings, which are provided to us through the Network Settings Exchange. This service will also enable the ability for open market devices to be tested against the 6 standardized profiles. This VoLTE service will also help facilitate VoLTE roaming deployments, as well as enable the results and certification to be advertised or made known to the industry stakeholders. So when a device manufacturer completes their testing against these profiles or these standards, that will be displayed on the service pages. We'll issue them a certificate saying that, hey, that they've complied or that they meet all the standards per the testing that's been conducted. And also that same goes for mobile network operators. You can indicate that your network has been tested. And what this does is this helps advertise the compliance to mobile network operators, and also vice versa, OEMs to the mobile network operators. And we think this will be very helpful in the effort to address something in the industry called or mentioned as OEM blocking. One thing I would like to kind of plug in here right now is, we are actively and currently seeking pilot participants and early adopters for this program. Device manufacturers, mobile network operators, MVNOs, any of those are more than welcome to contact us to learn more or speak to our, get engaged with our team who's running this. We'd love to get you on the front end of this service, help us learn more, help you learn more, get some testing done, and be one of those early adopters and help lead the charge in addressing these issues that we're seeing in the market and helping greater interoperability across the industry. So next.
Tyler, I think maybe we could break for questions now. I know this was your last slide, but just to give everybody a chance, is that okay that we move to questions?
Yeah, that's fine.
Great, thank you. Okay, so let's see if we can get one question each. Shamit, is the blockchain business network live as of yet? And if not, can you say roughly when it's going to be in situ so that operators could maybe do something with it, get their hands dirty?
Okay, so we would be going live on the 15th of April. Right now, we are working towards some of the quick development work which is happening with Mobilium and our internal team as well. There were lots of products and services which I described on one of the slides I presented. And throughout this year, starting from the April to the November, a lot of those services will be available. What we are trying to do is start with discounting settlement as an end of the year discounting settlement, and gradually we'll include the BCE process and also the TAP process. And to begin with, we would make the services available on trial basis, and hopefully, that would be turning into a commercial offering in due course.
Okay, great. So if people are curious, they can ping you an email and get involved. Awesome.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right. Sam, is it possible to connect the high-risk range or the fraud intelligence service to an operator's homegrown or bespoke fraud management system? Because we know lots of people have a fraud management system in-house. How can we link those things up?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways. You can either do it manually yourself by exporting via CSV or Excel, or you can connect it via API. That's also available. And I mean, that's probably the most commonly used way to do it is to connect to your fraud management system via API.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Chris, the eSIM Discovery Service, you said it was fairly new, although it's been in pilot. Is there actually live, eSIM provisioning traffic on the service already? And can you talk to that?
Yeah, the service is very live and very active now with the operators that we mentioned. We actually did quite a good traffic last year. So on the device traffic, which many of you may interest in, that we actually have 10 million plus device from last year that connect with the service with over 200 million requests and checks. So it really says that the device support is here, is about when and how the mobile operators take advantage of this huge population of install base to deliver a better experience for their customers.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Tyler, you mentioned the new radio and band information coming down the pipe for device map, which is coming soon. But obviously, there's a lot of devices, and this technology has been around for quite some time. So are we only going to get new data from going forward, or are we able to capture some data from the past for devices already in the market?
Right. No, that's a great question, Adrian. I think to answer that question pretty simply is that no. It will address historical TAC data as well. It will address historical information, not just going forward from when we launched, to start collecting that information from the manufacturers allocating TAC. What we've done is we have gone through and advised and pushed the manufacturers who have had previously allocated 4G and 5G information to go back and update their 2020 TAC. A lot of the larger manufacturers have already completed all of their 2020 TAC. We have several manufacturers who have already completed all of their TAC historically that supported 4G and 5G. And we will continue to push them to update that information. So there's going to be a lot of information available when we roll out this enhancement, not just for new devices, but historical devices as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Just wondering if we've got any questions from the audience. I can't see many. So Tyler, maybe you could talk more to the objectives of the VoLTE interoperability service. What are we really fundamentally trying to achieve for the industry there? And does it relate in any way to 2G and 3G switch off or sunset?
Right. Now, I think for the VoLTE interoperability scheme, the goal here is to create trust, I think, in a single location where OEMs and mobile network operators can all easily test against those profiles and settings, so that there is no, and try to help the industry so that there's not so much one-to-one testing, where as opposed to the VoLTE schema that we're working on is one-to-many in many cases, so that you can test to standardized profiles, in which rather than saying, okay, I've got to set up to test for this network operator and do all this information and test specifically, they've got 2 different settings as opposed to this one over here. Whereas if we can make this a little more standardized across the market, it's going to create the opportunity for more tests to be done more frequently, lower cost, and also increase trust among device manufacturers and mobile network operators to ensure that the devices and the networks are going to operate as they expect them both to.
Okay, thanks, Tyler. One for Fabiola. Fabiola, would you say that the benefits of the eSIM discovery service is somewhat to do with standardization? Is it about having a common place for activations? Can you talk to that?
Well, so yes, so basically, I'm not saying that because this one is standard, it's let's say the benefit is that it's from standard, because there are other activation methods which are also part of the standard. This is simply another alternative that it's written in the specification, and that now, since the service is commercial, it's available there for MNOs and OEMs to use. Okay, so in the end, the operators and device makers are, let's say, free to use the method they prefer, and most likely the methods will coexist, meaning that you will see some operators using one method for one type of device and discovery service for other type of devices. But definitely, yeah, one of the benefits of the eSIM discovery service is that it's standard, and it helps a lot in terms of avoiding one-to-one integrations between MNOs and OEMs. Okay,
cool. And I've just seen another question, again, either for Chris or Fabiola. Do you see that consumer eSIM will substitute M2M eSIM or not?
So you want me to start? Yeah, okay. So this is a good question. Actually, this is an important question because it's there in the market. People talk a lot about convergence, okay, of both consumer and M2M specifications since long time ago. And well, in fact, there is a new working group at GSMA that they're working on a specification for IoT market. And we see that in this specification, they will take some elements from the consumer specification and some other from the M2M. So it's not exactly that consumer will take over M2M eSIM, but that there will be another specification for IoT.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to round it off there. Thank you everybody for participating. Thank you to the presenters. We're very proud of the GSMA services, and hence we're telling you about them. Please go to gsma.com/services to find out more, and sign up for your credentials on the high risk number service, because you can do that today and it's available now. With that, I'll leave you. Thank you and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.